Hey, greetings everyone. Jacque Howard here, and this is Bridge the Vote. And yes, I'm doing this live with Tai Terry Wilson. Hey, Ty.
Hi, Jacque. How are
I'm
you?
doing good. So, for those of you who are seeking office, who are currently elected, you want to do this kind of thing like Ty is doing, all you got to do is hit me up. We've been very open at Bridge to Vote and at Hub 13 about trying to make as much information as possible available about all of the candidates. No gotchas, nothing like that. Just like this, we're just going to hang out and talk, ask some simple questions, and get some information out to the general public that may not know who the candidates are. So, Ty, you have been around doing this thing that we call civic engagement for quite a long time.
I have.
Yes, you have. Can you give a little bit of background about your history and what has gotten you to this place where you're running for the second time?
Sure. So some of the things that I've done, I just compassionately care about the city of Trenton. And I think it's always a natural segue when you care, you just have to engage, you have to do the work. Because faith without works is dead. And you just have to, if you want to see change, you have to create the change that you want to see. So I believe in doing the work to make things come into fruition. So I want to believe that I've naturally always been the type of person to try to get active and make things different when I see things. But I believe I got a boost by dealing with the school system when my children were in school. Just seeing some of the things that I thought should have been different, like being able to have safe spaces to be educated in, making sure that they have books that they need for every single student. There are just some things that I believe in. And when I see it, I have to speak to it and see if we can make it better for people. I segued that into becoming president of some of the PTAs that I sat on to fight, not just for my child, because what I learned is when you fight, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, but there are a whole lot of wheels that aren't squeaking. And so I'm always worried about the total body of the car, right?
All right, so I want to jump in because so folks, just so y'all know, like I've known Ty for many years because of the civic work that she's doing. We do not support any candidates. Ty knows that. We don't endorse anyone or anything like that, but we see the work. We see what people are doing. We see how active they are. We hear what other people are saying as well. And when I say other people, I mean that 5 generations from the infants and the children to our seasoned population, how they react to people is very important. And whenever I've been in your presence publicly, it's always been something people have been in admiration of the work that you're doing, very cordial, very supportive of everything that you're doing, etc. You led off by talking about the school board. Why do you think that the school system or the public education is in the space that it is right now?
Sure. Well, America has gone down in terms of education. So for me, I'll try keep me grounded because
Sure,
everything
sure.
I like to tell people the background of how I arrived because I think when you serve people, people have to understand where you're coming from. And that has to make sure they know that you understand where they're coming from because that's civics, that's community engagement, that's civic involvement. So I think that America per se does not put the time that it needs to into education anymore. We teach to test. We have children across the America who are graduating high school and not reading on grade level. That's just not in urban communities, and we need to really face that reality. So that's the misnomer about the city of Trenton. Like our children are somehow less educated than other populations. That's not true. So what we do is we teach the tests, right? So students aren't being taught phonics. They aren't being taught basic things, and there's nothing new under the sun. So when we talk about education, I think that we need to get back to letting teachers teach, give teachers the space to teach, and then parents have to support their children. And then children have to come to school engaged to learn. And that's just that. Because if you want to see the way a country or community goes, it's your children and it's your elders.
Amen on that.
So that's where we're at with education. And then we could say the work that I have done in my community as president of the Villa Park Civic Association. Quality of life is a big thing here. So when we talk about life, education is a part of life, right? And then your quality of life is important, right? So people again have this misconception that Trentonians are just lazy, don't want to work, our community is dirty, we don't care. That's not true with 100% of us, but you can soil your porch and see somebody riding down the street and throwing trash out the window. Let's keep it real, right?
And then that is keeping it real.
That's keeping it real,
Yes.
real. And then you'll have a civic minded person like me who goes out every morning with a trash bag on my street, and so do my other neighbors, and we pick up that trash. So please stop riding down the street and throwing your bags out of your car windows. We live here, whether it's a bottle after you sat and parked on the side street and drank, whether it is the people who work at St. Francis Medical Center where we find your mask, right? When you empty out your car on your way to work, we see your mask and we see your mail on the side of our properties. Please respect Trentonians. We respect ourselves. And so it's always work for everybody to do. So, and then we have our illegal dumpers who come into our community with the audacity to drop clothes, contracted materials, bedding. It's disrespectful. So here we have this connotation and image about the city of Trenton, which people who assess that to us are the ones coming in and dumping. So those are the type of things we're talking about. And then it becomes even more disrespectful because now we're taking our tax dollars to go and clean up these dumps when people should be properly disposing of their contractor materials. If you put someone out of a home, you should be properly having them dispose of their contents. And so it's always that communities who have less are expected to do more. And then we're put in this position, like, and if we don't do everything right, then something is inherently wrong with us. No, I got my finger on the pulse and I fight for Trentonians.
And I thank you for saying that, because I think the quality of life issue is oftentimes used as low-hanging fruit by politicians to talk about very specific things. But when you were going in talking about the examples in your neighborhood, I think that is what resonates more with residents. They're going to understand what you mean by seeing. Just because there's a bar or a liquor establishment down the street doesn't mean that people should be dropping their trash in our neighborhood. That problem is a big problem. It's a cultural issue. It's definitely a person staffing issue, like how we do all those things. From your perspective of city council, how do you envision your relationship with the directors to come up with a plan, a policy, an action step to start eliminating some of the quality of life issues, such as illegal dumping, people in their own personal trash, and uncleanness of their own properties?
Sure. So it is my opinion that we have to select the right mayor. And then we have to select, because the mayor is going to appoint the directors to these different departments. So it's very important that we as residents, we take this election seriously and we put it together with what we want to see our community look like, right? So we listen to what mayoral candidates are speaking to, and we make sure that quality of life issues are in there, and we listen to what their plan is. I, as a city council person, whoever that director is, I am going to be sure to hold them accountable to the concerns that are coming through me from what I see with my own eyes and also from my constituents. So the constituents have a big key in telling us what we see and how they want the community to be. And we know we want it to be clean. So I want our businesses who come here to respect our properties. I want us to respect our neighborhoods. And that means speaking to your patrons or putting signs up and saying, respect the neighborhood, keep it safe, keep it clean. We don't mind if you come here and drink and hang out and have your noise at a certain level, but then leave quietly, because Trenton is so small and we have a lot of bars that are in neighborhoods. Don't urinate on our property. Like, we're just talking basic quality of life things. And I think with politics, we like to use the buzzwords, but that doesn't help us. We need to really get to the root of what the problems are. And the problems are people just want a quality of life. They want to work. If they like to drink after work, they want to be able to go have a nice drink. They want to be able to do it safely without getting into a brawl, like just the basic things. And Trentonians are not exempt from any of that. We just want to be able to live like regular people.
You often have spoken about civics. I mean, the whole time that I've known you, from the work that you've been doing, it's been about civics, doing well, sometimes people like to say is the in the streets work, like knowing who the residents are, knowing who the players are, learning the businesses and working with them. As you're seeking the council at large position, you're throughout the city. Can you talk about the population and our diversity and how that can, whether you view it as a strength or a weakness, and from your own perspective, our diversity?
Thank you. You know what, I want to go back to, I don't think I answered your question entirely, what I would like to do when I get on council, and I intend to do, is strengthen these ordinances, right? We need to find these, find businesses that are out of compliance. We need to find these slumlords, and I mean literally find them for doing these illegal dumps. We need to hire more inspectors, and we need to make sure that our inspectors are on the same exact page as the residents. I mean, when we have a landlord that takes one tenant out and puts another tenant in, is there a certificate of occupancy? Have we confirmed that that property is able to even be rented? Does it pass the codes? Because people here work too hard to live in slum and filth and unsafe properties. So it's, I take people seriously. This isn't a soundbite. When I talk, I believe in what I'm doing because they can't pay you enough. You have to have a compassionate spirit, and you have to understand people, in my opinion, to serve the people. Our diversity. I think that our diversity is great. I think the fact that we have such a melting pot here, we are really an example of what America is, right? Mm-hmm. But what I'm finding, and we got to talk about it, is we cannot continue to think that we can rebuild Trenton by leaving out some Trentonians. Mm-hmm. We have African Americans here, we have Liberians here, we have Polish people here, we have Italian people here, we have Mexican, we have Guatemalan. And we have a whole lot of resources and a whole lot of studies that are always done to find out what we can do to make Trenton better. But there's a population who is often studied, the Black American population is often studied. And then I don't see tangibles that come back from those results. As an example, we could say in education, why are our students failing? When we talk about why our students are failing and parents are coming to Board of Education meetings and saying, I need books, or my child doesn't feel safe going to a school that's not in his or her neighborhood, or they're failing because they're being marked late because now we have redistricted our community. So we're not listening to the people. So you can't ask people to get engaged and tell you exactly what they need and then do the opposite. Because when you do the opposite of what I'm telling you will work for me, it's not going to work for me. Am I losing you as an example?
No, I'm fully understanding. And just for a little clarification, it sounds like you're saying we have these programs or whatever, but there's a disconnect. We're not getting the information to the people who need it. And when we do,
and they respond,
we're not listening.
They're not listened to. They're not listened to. And so it's just real deep. Everything is connected. So it's really not politics. It is respect in the community. As an example, some people don't work a 9 to 5. Some people work in warehouses because that's just the economy. And those jobs have very set and regiment start times. So if I have a child that attends high school, and I have a child that attends middle school, and I have another child that attends elementary school, and my oldest child has to be to school earlier than my younger children, and I have to be to work earlier than my younger children and my adult children, who's taking my child to school? Mm-hmm. So these are real issues inside of a community, and they can impact you, because now as a parent, I'm stressed out because how can I get my child to school because they want to be in school and I want to send them there, but I have to pay the bills. If I don't pay the bills, if I don't go to work, I can't pay my bills. Those are real issues, right? And so it's just really deep. We have to listen to what the people are saying. When people articulate their concerns, we have to understand that there's nothing inherently wrong with people when they tell you exactly what they need for success. But then as residents being engaged, we have to speak and vote for people who understands our issues, because if we don't, we'll get the cycle. So how I know our community, you asked me about the diversity in Trenton. Trenton is really diverse in forms of ideas, cultures, desires, monetary salaries, how much we make, and even our properties. And no matter who we are, each and every one of those facets deserves a decent quality of life. Whether I am living on Walnut Avenue, I don't deserve to be in a home where I have wires hanging. You know, if I live in Hiltonia and I choose to have property taxes that are really high because I want to live in the city of Trenton, I don't deserve to not have my trash picked up properly. You know what I mean? I don't deserve to have crime. None of us deserve to have crime. I think I'm rambling on, but it's just you have to understand that Trenton has different issues, but we're all collective in wanting a good quality of life. And I think that that is where the rubber meets the road. And I think that is where we can govern to give people that.
I'm glad that you are rambling, because I think that many people want to hear from the candidates who they really are. I don't think that people want to hear sound bites.
Yeah, I can't give sound bites.
I
ain't got the type of time.
And I don't think people want any of that. People were like, look, what you gonna do? What are your thoughts? What have you have been doing? And it amazes me that communication is such lacking here. I mean, we have candidates who are seeking positions and don't have public contact information, which I find to be very difficult to understand. If you're going to be a public official, everything's going to be public. Everything's going to be public. So I say that to at least bring it back, just to have you explain from your perspective the level of professionalism that you've seen over this current administration, and what you believe, if you're elected to the at-large position of council, how your professionalism will be different or in compared to what we've seen.
So I think we've all seen a lot. And I think it's subject to people's interpretation. But for me, when I govern and when I'm speaking with people, I try to be respectable at all times. And the reason why I want to be respectable is because I have to work with you on some level. So we may not always agree, but we can disagree without being disagreeable. That is for me, right? And I don't want to burn big bridges. I want to hear what everyone has to say. I want to process it. I want to respond to you, repeat back to you what you said so that I understand it. And then I want to see where we can agree and where we can compromise. But the compromise for me has to be what is best for Trentonians, period. And not West Ward, not the Latino population, not the Black population, not the Polish. What is best for Trenton overall? And that's how I'll govern. And I have done that by sitting on the Zoning Board of Adjustments. I frequently speak about getting, we all get our little agendas beforehand. And I would literally, as I should, ride around to the properties that are coming before us and get a look at what they want to do, what's currently done there, how it's going to fit the fabric of the neighborhood. And that's putting the work in. You don't get paid for doing that, but when you care, you have to do it, right? I sit on the Mercer County Planning Board. One of the things I like to talk about is there's a building on East 8th Street in Trenton where borders Hamilton, like on Ward Avenue. It was a warehouse, and they wanted to redo a parking lot for egress. Well, if you know anything about East 8th Street, that end, it's not a very wide street. And so because this is a warehouse, I needed to find out because it borders Trenton. We're going to talk about Trenton all day, right? And I needed to find out what they wanted to do, if it was something that could be done without impacting our residents that are coming off of Logan Avenue. So that's the work that you have to put in. And even with the high school, getting that built, we did a projection. Our old high school held 3,500 students, and we were projecting that our student population was increasing. And it has increased. As we see now, we have redistricted our districts because we had to make room for our students. Proper planning, because now when those students get from elementary school, they're all going to be in high school at the same time. And now you went from a building from 3,500 to 1,500, or however many it holds. It's a drastic difference, but that is planning. That is doing what's uncomfortable, because even though we all wanted a high school, what worked best for the city of Trenton? And so residents, we have to be mindful of what we want and what we need and what's going to work best. Now, I'm not adverse to it because I'm happy that our children have a safe, clean building, but I hope that once our students hit 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, that there's room, or else we got to fight another 5 years for a new building. So I think when we govern, we have to govern with what we want. We can start with what we want. We can get a wish list. We have to have a wish list because that's what it's all about. We're paying taxes. We get a wish list, and then we look at our budget, and then we look at what can we do, and then what can we set goals to do? Where do we see ourselves, and how do we see it happening? And that's the form of government that you will continue to get from me. You won't see me going back and forth and arguing. I'm not suggesting anybody else has done that. I'm saying with me, Because this is a tough job, and your disposition matters, your demeanor matters, your ability to process information and move accordingly in a way that yields results and not animosity is needed. Because politics isn't a joke, but it's a game, but life isn't a game, and what we have going on is not a game.
I am going to say that I'm going to close it out right there.
Oh, wow.
Because Tai, I had, things that I wanted to cover. You hit all those. You went in a little deeper on some things that I wasn't expecting you to, but I'm glad that you did.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share finishing up?
I would, guys. So elections matter. We have a lot of people who are running to represent you, us, and me, because even though I will be a city councilor at large, I hope that you will vote for me. I still live here in the great city of Trenton. So I would suggest that we research people who are running for office. We try to learn as much as we can. And I hope that we don't vote for people based off of popularity and sound bites, because we don't have time. We don't have time. There's a lot of work to be done. We need people who are going to speak to the issues in Trenton and not pussyfoot around them, because we have some real deep issues here. And we need to bring Trenton up together. And we need to recognize that no one in Trenton is better or less than the other. And we need to have people who understand that and will work towards it. So I am Tai Terry Wilson. I am number 7 on the ballot. They say lucky 7, all these cute slogans. No, I need you to pointedly vote for me because you believe that I will have your best interest at heart, and I can be found on number 7 on the ballot. Thank you so much.
Tai Terry Wilson, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Council
Dan.
at large
Thank
candidate
you.
in the city of Trenton municipal elections happening November 8th. Remember, Jacque Howard, Bridge the Vote. We do not support any candidates, but we want to have the candidates come and share about themselves. I'm Jacque Howard. Remember, it's always about justice, peace, and humility.
Thank you.